Welcome to the Coffee Talk Podcast. This is intended for informational purposes only and not to be used as a primary basis for investment decisions. Consult your financial professional before making investment decisions. Shannon Ross is a registered representative and MBA of Lighthouse Financial. Lighthouse Financial offers securities and advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisories Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Shannon is CEO and managing financial partner of Lighthouse Financial. Cambridge and Lighthouse Financial are not affiliated. And now, here's your host, Shannon Ross.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Coffee
Hello.
Talk. Welcome.
Hi.
I wore my red today for a couple different reasons.
Do you want me to ask?
Sure. Well, you'll like one of them.
I'm kidding, yes.
Well,
You look very pretty.
I actually have an abnormal amount of red in my closet, so it's good because I have a lot of Christmas events for client events and different things going on.
You're all
Christmas
over the
parties.
place. Yep.
And in honor of not really Bama, but kind of Bama, you had a big week. They're still continuing.
I had a
Man,
girl.
they pull it out of there. You know what?
I had a girl. You
So-
did you wore that for me, for my team?
Yes.
Did you
We'll
really?
pretend we did.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, my team won the national. No, I'm sorry,
Well,
the SEC championship.
little-
That was a little bit of a I just prophesied right there on the show. No, I'm kidding. My team won the SEC championship. They were massive underdogs. I didn't even think they were going to win. They did. They pulled it off, and it was like a domination.
I know. And you're still winning. Like we were talking about the streak from last week with your donkeys now. She's a new adoptive parent.
Yep.
Of two
Pistol
miniature
and Pete.
donkeys.
Yeah,
They're coming in just a couple weeks.
Well, and we were at the Christmas party when the game was on. Well,
That's
I
right.
was late to the Christmas party
And
because
you
I
left
was not
early.
leaving my game.
Yes. I think you were there for 30 minutes. I was very sad. I know.
Well,
there's a reason why.
There's a reason why, but
Dinner
I
didn't
got there
agree with
late
you, but-
because I could not.
Yes.
I had to finish my game, and it was amazing. And for a couple, we actually stayed at the hotel. My son and I, the Christmas party was at, and I think I yelled really loud once and jumped up and down. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm in a hotel!" Like it was loud, loud. So yeah,
But
thank
you
you
didn't
for
get the
doing
call
that.
from the front desk. So
No,
that's good.
no. But
Yeah,
thank
I'm
you.
excited. I'm excited for you.
Well, you look.
This is a fun time of year. I don't have any other teams that I cheer for that are remotely close to any sort of championship.
No.
So, you know.
So December 31st,
That's
it's
right.
going to be the playoffs.
That's
Made it
right.
to the playoffs. But you
Big
look very
day.
pretty.
Thank you.
In red,
Well, I
yes.
got these earrings last Christmas and I haven't worn them for a year.
I was about to say
so
I've
I was like,
never worn. I've
this
never
was the
s-
basis
seen
of
them.
this outfit today. Was the earrings. And
I
then,
thought the basis was my team.
well,
So that did you just
there's
tell a
red.
big fat
I
lie?
love red, and red and Bama go hand in hand. So I did working out this morning. I did have the Bama shirt you bought me like several years ago.
Which
it's a little
one?
raggedy.
Oh, the red
Yes.
one.
I think I need,
I need to
a new
get you a
one
new
for
one.
Christmas.
Yeah.
It's a little nasty.
I'll work on that.
But well, welcome everyone.
As we
We're
talk.
you know, mid-December. It's going fast. I think there's, as of today's recording, there is 14 more days.
That is insanity
So
to me.
everyone needs to know that 14 more days.
And I'm not done shopping. Hit me last night at like 1 a.m. I woke up and I'm like, oh my God, I still have like family to buy. I'm not like I'm having
No.
a hard
and your
time
husband's
this
birthday
year.
is this week, so that's a lot of pressure.
No, not this not this.
Okay, maybe
Yeah,
it
not
is.
this week.
What day is it?
Today's the 9th.
I know,
His birthday's the 15th.
15th.
So it's next week.
Okay. Well, okay, it's next Wednesday.
Yeah,
You're
you know
right.
me. I'm
Okay.
very
Yep.
Sunday to Sunday. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm thinking a week from today.
I'm like,
It is in the next week
Yeah.
from today.
yeah, he won't tell me what he wants to do. So I need your husband to help with that.
Okay. Our husbands have been forced to become kind of besties because they are forced
Well, they
to
like each
spend a lot
other.
of time together.
But they have to
So
because
over the
we
years they've gotten very
Yeah.
close. Now they work out together, and what do they call each other? They're max partners.
I'm not sure our
Max
husbands want
partners
us
of
to
lifting
share
max
that.
something. I don't know.
Because when they max out when they're lifting,
That's right.
that
They,
they're
they
yeah.
spot each-
We just made them sound like
hand
total
motions.
dorks.
They just kind of funny.
Anywho,
any
Okay.
sanity spends this week?
no, I have my skates on this week. It is a busy week.
Yeah,
At the office.
we're getting a lot of stuff done. Between
She's
now
a
and
slave
the end of the
driver,
year.
so I have my skates on and she's off.
I
I'm
know.
kidding.
It's
no.
a mix of a
It
lot
is
of meetings.
Lots of meetings.
But we're having fun too. You know, in between
it's always
there's
fun. I
little
love-
parties here and there.
Yeah,
and
well, we're in our new office, which is super fun.
that is fun.
But it
Got
is
a new
fun.
website. Things are exciting.
Yeah.
CoffeeTalkPodcast.com just relaunched. If you haven't been there, check it out.
Yep.
We're continuing to add to it every
I
week.
need to check it. I haven't seen the
So-
new launch one. I saw the other one.
Shame on you.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm just telling.
on the naughty
Being
list.
honest. Being honest. What about you? Sanity spins? It's Christmas. I feel
It's
like
Christmas.
I can't
every day,
have
you
one.
know, and it's cute. I have a lot of so at Lighthouse Financial, the firm I run, we have a lot of Christmas teas. So we had 4 on the calendar in the matter of 2 weeks. And so I've eaten more scones, and I mean, I think I might gain 30 pounds just for going to these Christmas teas. They're beautiful. They're at the Brown Palace, which is like a very historic,
it's nice.
pretty hotel in downtown Denver. But the amount, and you can't like stop yourself. I mean, you know, it's finger sandwiches, it's
can't
scones,
stop yourself.
It's
That's it.
amazing, and so it's not going well.
Do you feel gluttonous?
I do a little bit. Every time I drive home, like, oh, what was I thinking?
Well, it's winter, so
I know there are extra layers. Thank goodness. So,
you know what? You're just trying to.
We all put it on a little holiday weight. It's all right. So
I try not to think about that, but thank you. Yes.
Well, if you are just tuning in to the series for the first time, we started a new series last week called The Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah.
And we are working through a few items around generosity. And so last week we just kind of kicked it off. We talked a bit about, you know, what class, socioeconomic class, tend to be the most generous, which I think that was one of our exciting tidbits, surprising tidbits, that it's actually, you know, kind of the working class, the poorest 1/5, and we've all been there as we started out or now or whatever. Everybody's in a different category, but they're the most generous historically.
Yeah. Well, you gave some interesting tips on the last one. So for the listener, go back to the first one and listen to that as well, because you gave some interesting facts on that, and that's a good lead into this.
It's not just about how much money you make. Is the point of that is that people can be generous at any amount of money they make, because it's not just about money. It's about time. It's about talents. It's about just, you know, being kind to others and being skills
and
to
generous
others.
with your
so today
sphere
we're going to continue that with, I think is really a fun show, is the 8 biggest benefits of being generous. So not that we need reasons to be generous, but sometimes, you know, there's a little bit of a challenge out there to, you know, think outside yourself, be a little bit more intentional. And
we're all guilty sometimes of kind of going inside of ourselves. We can all sometimes have that bent towards being not even intentionally meaning to be self-absorbed, but especially after the past, it's been a rough ride for a while now, and I think sometimes it's easy to just kind of clam up and
we
move
all,
in.
I think, do still a health check of ourselves every morning. Like, oh, is that an extra sniffle? Oh, is that an extra? You know, like
I feel like I live that every day. I'm like, was that pain
allergies?
there? Was that pain
is
there
it
yesterday?
Cold or is it COVID?
Oh, sometimes for me it's not even COVID. Now I'm like, oh, I have back pain. Is that my kidney? Like, it can't just be, I don't know, that I'm getting older and I need a new mattress, but I think I'm going into kidney failure. Like, that is how extreme.
Well, we were doing some holiday shopping for a friend together, and you bent down and your knee popped.
Yeah, it did. I'm like, well, now I can't walk. I feel like everything is like under a magnifying glass. So I feel, but because it has been rough, I think sometimes I love this article, the one that that both of us have, because I think this is, I mean, you want to be generous for altruistic reasons, right?
Sure.
That should be the goal, but sometimes it helps to hear some of these can incentivize you as well.
Well, and we were asking, you know, in last show, hey, is it scientifically proven that being generous is better for you?
Yes.
And better for your relationships, and
we
better
know
for
you
your
love
finances.
science.
And
You
I
love
always like the
science.
proof, you know.
You like the proof in the pudding.
The proof is in the pudding. So we cross-referenced this article from the Ascent with a couple different other studies, and they're all conclusive in the same direction, which I also like that.
Yep.
So let's kick it off. What would you think? So before we start the 8, and I know you've read the article, but what would you say is the top, you know, reasons why you're generous? What are the top maybe 2 reasons? And I know you love my questions.
You just
but you don't
put me on the spot.
I know. You're going to get really good at being on the spot. We're almost to our 50th show, which is crazy.
How many?
We've worked hard. 50.
We are not.
Yes, we are. I think today's 48.
There's no way we've done that many.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to have to count these myself. I think somebody messed up on their
I think
counting.
Apple Podcast counts them for you, but yes.
That's insane. Okay. Reasons why I'm generous?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I hate when you ask me questions. I mean, like
Deer in the headlights.
I know. Okay. No, I mean, first and foremost, I think it is always healthy. It's always good for your own mental health to get outside of yourself.
No doubt.
And focus on someone else, because I can hyper focus on my problems. Hello. I just threw myself under the bus a second ago over back pain, and I think it's a kidney failure. But it helps to get outside of yourself, to focus on other people and where their needs are. Because like we said last show, especially right now, if you don't see any needs around you, then your eyes aren't open. We said it last show, we'll say it again. Yeah. There are needs around you all the time, and I think it is so important to focus and be intentional about finding those needs, and just being a blessing to someone else. So those are my top, I guess, is that one or two reasons there. But I think it also, I know we're going to get into it, but I think one of these that rings so true to me is the more that you are generous towards others, you find yourself more content. Absolutely. With your circumstances, with what you have, with where you're at in life, with your, with your relationships. I think impacts so many other areas that have nothing to do with money, time, volunteer, those types of things, but it naturally impacts those other areas of your life. And I think contentment is so important.
Absolutely. I think contentment and gratitude are probably the two most important qualities of life that help improve all the other qualities of life that you're hoping for. I mean, we all get one go of this, right? We all want, to accomplish our dreams and maybe hit some goals and to be happy. I mean, the pursuit of happiness is all,
Such a good movie.
All around us. And so this is what I love about today's show. It's very much about that and putting generosity as a heartbeat of that pursuit of happiness. And so as we start here, so what's fun is, there's 8 biggest benefits that have been cross-referenced with different kind of surveys of lots and lots of individuals, just kind of how they track their lives, how they track the satisfaction with the life. And that's actually number 1. So those that are generous, and they kind of put it in kind of high generosity respondents and low generosity respondents. So it's not making fun of people who are not generous, but it's more just capturing how they self-report, how they feel about others or their lives or their health or what have you. So the first one is you statistically have a greater satisfaction with life if you are more generous, and because it brings a lot more happiness. So generosity has been established as a key ingredient. And
the percentages here were good.
They were 74% of high generous people responded that they were greatly satisfied versus 60%. So we're talking about, 14%
of the low generosity respondents. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
And actually of the high generosity respondents, more than twice were as likely to report being very satisfied with life. And not just in one aspect, but across the board, in family, friendships, romance, and finances. Yeah. So I think romance is kind of cute that's in there.
I hadn't noticed that.
I know.
Romance.
So, hey, so that's a fun.
You want to uptick that romance life.
Right? I know. We're always trying to fix some of our friends up constantly. So, generosity is key.
That's true.
So greater generosity. What about number 2? This one kind of makes me laugh a little bit.
Okay. I actually thought of you when I read this one, because I consider you a very generous person, and yet okay, so let me just get to it. All right, so more friends. On the higher generosity respondents, they had 3.2 close. I find the 0.2
I know,
funny.
The 0.2 is
3.2 close friends, whereas low generosity had an average of 2.6. I don't know how they're divvying humans up there. I find that but what I can't help but when I read something like this, my mind goes to like Myers-Briggs. Or because somebody who's an introvert, like
I'm an introvert.
Somebody like you're not out there chasing friends, right? But you're an extremely generous person.
Yeah.
And so this one for me was like, because there's so much that can tie up. I mean, I'm not saying this is a wrong statistic. It's clearly they did a significant poll, but it found that people that were on the higher generosity scale, they took more time to, I think, invest in their friendships.
Yeah.
Like this mentions visiting at the hospital, helping them move, driving them to and from the airport.
Yeah. Well, when I looked at this, I'm like, because I find that you do find that people gravitate towards you if you are generous, and maybe with an
ulterior motive.
I'm like, sure, I want to be your friend. You pay me, you buy me dinner, you take me out, so.
I'll be your friend.
It's like I've known, no one in my close circle, but I've had those people who like have the alligator arms, like where they, when you go out to dinner with them, they're like, oh, you beat me to the check.
Oh, you mean
again.
this?
Yeah,
Yes.
because they can't
Oh,
reach.
that makes
That's what
sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a little cynical view, but that one made me laugh. I'm like, of course you're going to have more friends because everyone knows people who are kind of
and
just
so you thought of it that way,
Yeah.
and I went straight to Myers-Briggs with introverts don't want that many friends.
I know. I actually had a good friend send me a hilarious text. She's a strong introvert as well. And I guess there's this phrase in German, and I can't say the phrase, but the phrase actually means I've been visited enough, and they use it kind of at the end of dinner parties or parties to like tell people to go, like it's time to go. She's like, we need to learn this phrase.
Oh, that's funny.
I've been visited enough.
Now get out.
It was so funny that she sent me that. So, but yes. So
And
you
that
do
leads
have more friends if you have generosity.
Well, and
in
I
your
think
heart.
what's even more important is number 3 about the
Yes.
relationship with
It's
people
not
being
about
stronger.
the breadth of friends. It's about the
Right.
depth of friends.
Right.
But number 3, yes, stronger relationships with people they know.
66%
They felt close to the people they
felt
know.
closer on the
You
high
know,
generosity
yeah.
respondents versus
It's
50.
always good to have, community where you just know a lot of people, but it's all about, for me at least, it's all about the depth. I'm not looking for superficial.
Yeah.
I think as we get older as well, we want depth.
Oh, the
not
circle
breadth.
becomes smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And when I enter a room of, 50 people, I'm not excited. Like I'm like,
Oh,
I
me neither.
sigh before I open that door.
I'm looking
there
for-
are some extroverts out there, and some of you who are listeners, that just energizes them. They can't wait. I'm entering that room. I'm finding like the one person I know, which is usually you, and I'm going to the corner and we're grabbing a seat and just chit chatting the whole night.
If you're not there yet, I find the closest wall to completely melt into, or if it's a sit down event, I'm going straight to my chair. I'm going to sit there, and I'm not a mingler. I don't want to.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
But I thought so number 4.
Yes,
I thought this one I wouldn't have thought of this.
I agree, because you don't really equate career. So this one's about career.
Yeah,
You
happy
don't equate
career.
career with generosity per se, because I think of always generosity outside of the workplace,
Yeah,
right? What am I doing
completely.
with my time? Where am I
Outside of
volunteering?
work.
And what am I
Yeah.
passionate about outside of work?
Yeah.
But this was actually one of the highest
Mm-hmm.
areas that had the largest chasm
Yep.
between highly generous people and not so generous people, of a 70% expressed satisfaction with their jobs versus 49%. Yeah, so that is surprising.
Yeah.
So, and I wonder if,
Well, it
and I'm
has to
trying
feed in
think
with the
of why that is.
Whoa, wait. It has to feed into the satisfaction thing, because
Yeah.
remember, number 1's the
Yeah.
satisfaction. They have a greater satisfaction in all areas of life. So it makes sense then that in this particular area of life, if you're on the lower generosity respondent category, then naturally you're probably not going to be as happy with your career.
Yeah.
Because you don't have number 1. Does that make
Sure.
sense? The
That
greater
makes sense.
satisfaction overall.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that
and
makes
again,
sense.
if you're not very satisfied, you don't have a lot of friends, you don't have a lot of good friends, you're miserable at work. I feel kind of bad for these
Like a curmudgeon?
And again, we all have either a family member or a friend that's like this, but maybe we were challenging our listeners last week to find need.
Yeah.
Look for your low generosity friends, because they have, I think, a lot of needs that this exposes.
Absolutely.
Of, sometimes you need a friend to come alongside you to take you out of your pit.
To be generous with you.
Yeah.
Then it will stir up
Exactly.
your the influence that they have over you will stir
And I
up the
find that
generosity in you.
generosity is kind of taught. Like as
Agreed.
folks are generous to you, you kind of understand from a experiential perspective,
Right.
from an insider's perspective, like, wow, that makes me feel awesome. Like I love this. No, so let me now become, turn it into a verb, where
Yeah.
I become someone
Right.
who's generous. I'm becoming someone who is altruistic. So
And they get
happy
rid of their
career.
alligator hands.
That's right. They
I've
get rid of it.
never-
You've never heard of that?
No.
I love it. Have anyone else heard of that? Oh my gosh.
You say stuff on this show. I'm so thankful for
I
these
just
guys right
old?
here, because then I don't feel like I'm the one that doesn't like your chutzpah and your.
I
Although,
know.
do you know how many times I've said that to my child?
I
For those
know.
who didn't hear that
Sorry,
show,
you
this won't
didn't.
make sense. But I have told him so many times the past few weeks, like getting
I
ready for
know.
finals, you need to rally your chutzpah. He's yet to ask me what that means.
You must know, and intrinsically know.
He just kind of looks at me. I mean, I told him it was a Yiddish word, but I felt smart. And he
Okay, alligator arms.
He was not amused.
I'm
I'm going to remember that.
Let's still bring
Okay,
him out.
number 5
Number
doesn't
5.
surprise me. I mean, this is just,
Yes,
again.
and I thought about EQ here, where we spent, early
yeah.
fall, I think 10 weeks on EQ? I mean, we spent a chunk of time.
Was that
on
40 out of our 50
emotional
shows?
intelligence. So number 5, a more positive outlook.
Yeah.
And I
makes
thought
sense.
of optimism on the EQ. Which was actually, if you remember our last show of EQ, there were 4 key EQ qualities that people measure the pursuit of happiness with, and optimism is one of those. So positive outlook,
that makes sense.
optimism.
But I think this was, okay, so to me, this was pretty high. A full 81% of highly generous people believe life is meaningful. That's 21% more than those who are not so generous. And a meaningful life may be why 77% of the more generous group said they feel happy every day, compared to a 62% of the less altruistic folk.
Because I think they believe that what they're doing matters,
Yeah.
and they see impact.
Well, it's purpose.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's
is
an easy,
purpose.
it brings purpose.
it is.
Especially as you're focusing not so much on yourself, but on
Yeah.
those around you,
Mhm.
and identifying those needs,
Yeah.
and genuinely wanting
Mhm.
to help meet that need, whether, again, if it's volunteer time.
No doubt. And it's not about recognition. I think probably where I get a biggest kick is by anonymously doing something.
Yeah.
Where you can watch from a distance because you know still what you're doing, but that person doesn't have to know,
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows that person who is generous, but always is looking for the limelight about it or talking about it. And that kind of negates the whole purpose behind
I'm generous.
it.
Look at me.
Right. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's about the other people. So
Right.
I think even doing things anonymously, I think increases
Super powerful.
that
Yeah.
positive outlook all the more.
I agree.
And we talk a lot about on this show planting good seeds.
Yeah.
Here's where I've seen that
Yeah.
is, even if you're never thanked, even, I've given to folks before and I'm like, okay, well, it wasn't a big, it was just whatever. But I knew it wasn't about them. It wasn't about me. It was just also about the seed I'm planting.
Sure.
Because, you do what you sow, you reap.
Yeah.
And we've all been in those situations where, those who are generous, you go on your own hard times and those come out of the woodwork just to be there for you
Yeah.
and to bless you and to
Sure.
carry you when you're down. So, yeah, I love the more positive outlook. Who doesn't want to be positive?
I know.
I mean, I know there are, people out there who are kind of prone to negativity, and I get that.
Well, yeah, but I think this is...
Because, again, we talked about in the last show, negativity is easier in the moment. It's easier in the short
Oh,
term because our
absolutely.
brains are wired to
Yeah.
go to the negative, to go to
Yeah.
what we need to self-protect from,
Right.
where the stressors are, where the
Yeah.
dangers are. But in the long run, it significantly decreases a lot of your satisfaction and happiness
Absolutely.
and all the good things in life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we can all, I know, reading something like this should be an incentive if you've noticed that, maybe you're looking too inward, you're not. And again, listen, we all have problems, circumstances,
yeah.
situations. This is not you have a big problem, that's all you're focusing on, you low generous person. That is
Sure.
not what this show is about.
Yeah.
We have all been through times and seasons where it is time for us to receive. We talked about that
Yeah.
last time.
Yeah.
So we're not talking
It
about...
ebbs and flows. We're going to be on
Absolutely.
both sides of this a lot in our
Yes.
lives because we go from season to season to season.
Yeah, this is about a consistency, not a certain season of life that you're in right now.
It's not always donkeys and Alabama wins,
right.
right?
It's not. But this should, for those that are consistently in that
Yes.
place where you're never getting
Yes.
outside, you're never looking,
That's right.
and you're noticing how negative your just even your outlook on life and no hope, and maybe
Yeah.
you're even in despair. This should incentivize you to try to be more intentional towards
Well, it gives you a single point of okay, what can I practically do? Because
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to find the first step
For sure.
out of your pit.
Yeah.
So just give.
Yeah.
Give time. Give a meal.
Find a place
give
to volunteer.
A couple bucks, whatever.
whatever that is.
That is the first step.
Yeah.
And we all have places in our communities where we know where we can give. Nearly every city has a homeless shelter. Nearly every city has a humane society. Nearly every city, has a Salvation Army or Red Cross, so what
Right.
have you.
Or again, if none of
a
that
neighbor.
if none of that is feasible for you, and I mean, you could be that one that's like, yeah, I don't have a way to get, I don't have that opportunity, or maybe you live in a place where there's none of that. I guarantee if you go to the store, we said this last week, if you go to the grocery store, if you are somewhere shopping, if you are, just be kind. Maybe that's your opportunity to be generous. Is to just be kind in a circumstance that maybe somebody's made you mad. This is a situation where you could rightfully go off. Rightfully,
I feel more and more
but you
people are
show
telling me
grace.
they get yelled at. I told you, like, I got yelled at last weekend for like no reason.
Well, we've met with even clients recently who have noticed just this uptick in people that are highly angry and all of that. So in that moment, you have an opportunity to be generous in a gracious way, in a kind way.
Totally.
All of us have that opportunity. No matter what situation in life that you're in, even that small opportunity is generous to somebody who maybe doesn't even deserve grace in the moment, but you're going to extend it anyway.
You're going to extend it anyways. That's right. So number 6, we talked about, this is one of your first 2 main reasons for you.
Yes. Better physical and mental health. Which, again, all of this makes sense. I feel like this all ties back to the very first reason to begin with.
So highly generous people are less likely to feel the range of negative emotions. And we all know these horrible 4: hopelessness, depression, apathy, and anxiety. Yeah. Those are kind of the weights, the cement shoes that can take us down.
And we have been living in that pit for quite a while.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
In the counseling side of my practice, hopelessness is rampant, and probably more so in the last 6 months than I've seen in 2 years, which leads to depression, which leads to apathy. It's kind of like hopelessness is the beginning. And once hopelessness starts to set in for a long period of time, that's where you see depression and apathy, because people give up. They're like, this is all it's ever going to be. Yeah.
Well, and I think this is an opportunity. So I saw an article, it was maybe yesterday or the day before that, about just the extreme rise of mental health cases amongst kids and teenagers and youth. And this is an opportunity if you're as parents to train our children. Listen, those are real things, and they need to be treated, and they need to be. And in the midst of that, being good examples of being generous and training our kids up to be generous as well, because it can help,
no doubt,
in this area of life. I mean, they're seeing depression and anxiety amongst unprecedented numbers. Once again, that word unprecedented that we've been saying now for almost 2 years with COVID and everything. And I think this is an opportunity for parents.
No doubt. Like I remember, I love working with high-risk youth, because I was a high-risk youth. I had a lot of trauma in my teenage years. I had a lot of tumultuous things going on at home. But one thing that, I was forced into by just people who loved me is to get involved in, it was through my youth group at the time, but all of these kind of, it was called the Pittsburgh Project. And we would go downtown Pittsburgh all the time and paint a house, clean out a house. It was as much physical labor as they could find for a group of teenage kids. And it was uncomfortable. It was a little scary. It was smelly. It was, it was hard labor. Yeah. But I was in a program that I had to do it like once a week. And it was over the course of a couple years. Maybe it wasn't once a week, every week, but it was a lot. But that really helped me get out of this depression and apathy, which I definitely was going to, and, different things that were arising because of so much pain. Yeah. And it taught me at a young age, and a very formidable age, that service matters. Yeah. And if we can get our kids to start serving, I've seen the biggest impact both in my own life and now my kids' lives, that they almost don't have a choice to become so inward focused. And their whole world, Snapchat and all the things, are so inwards, about selfies and about their picture and about their story and about their brand and about their, subscriber base and all that crap.
How many followers they have.
My gosh. And so, this is for our kids as well.
Absolutely.
Better physical and mental health. So we have 2 more.
Well, and if you're an idea for parents, if you are like, but a lot of our shelters are closed and we don't have places to go volunteer. I mean, all over the country, places are different. A great thing you could do with your kiddo is there's many organizations, Compassion International, New Missions. You can sponsor a child in another country, and you just they'll tell you what to pack in, like a shoebox drive. Yep. A lot of them do shoebox drives or gift drives. And if you're not comfortable going out, you can order everything online, have it, and then package it up, and you can go drop it off somewhere. If you need as little interaction as possible, because I get it right now with health, and
Yeah.
then that's an option. But you can pack that with your kids.
Yeah.
And you can
And writing those kids letters.
Yeah, you pack it up with a letter.
Make a
and
picture, send a letter.
And it
There's
can
lots
create
to
an
do.
ongoing, if you want to do it year for year, just for this year, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
it's an opportunity to do that with your kiddos while if you also need to stay home or
No doubt.
don't have the option to go other
No
places.
doubt.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to close it out. 7 and 8. 7. My 7 got kind of cut off. Why don't you
Mine
read
too.
number 7?
But it's satisfaction with what you have. So this was my
The
second one.
contentment. Yes,
The contentment
yes,
piece.
yes.
And it's normal. We all, it's okay to want things. This is not about
Yeah.
you should never want anything in life. We would all be big fat liars if we said that.
Yeah.
It's okay to want things, whether it's success or tangible things and whatever that may be. But this talks about that those who were on the higher generosity scale were more satisfied with their life in general, but also where they lived, with their possessions, and their relationships, their cars, that kind of thing. And so it showed that.
I really
what was
loved
the
how
statistic on
they were
this?
less likely to
Sorry.
buy into
Yeah.
one of the biggest lies I see people believe.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in wealth management.
Yes.
And
this line right
especially
here.
in my own life. This is
Yep.
one of the things I have to constantly combat, that it is an absolute lie that having more money will make you happy.
That's right.
That is so not
No,
true.
right.
And those who are more content actually show that they don't, they're less likely to fall to
Sure.
that lie,
Yeah.
for that deception.
Yeah.
Because we all know the human heart condition, all it wants is more. So it's never enough.
Yeah.
So no, there's no, as you start to accumulate assets, as you start to gain wealth, if you don't have this generosity piece in the mix,
Sure.
it will ruin you. Why? Because you start to focus on it. Then you start to fear losing it.
Yeah.
And then you start to make compromises to keep it. It just is one, you start pulling that string, and
Sure.
it just leads to one unraveling
Right.
compromise after another, after
Right.
another, after another.
Yeah. Your happiness should never be
So-
tied to your money.
Right.
Period.
Money is fleeting.
And-
We've all seen that.
Yeah.
Through COVID
Yeah.
and through this, this whole economic roller coaster we've all seen. So number 8, take it home.
Higher self-esteem, which makes this one didn't surprise me. That makes sense. I mean, how you feel about yourself and every part of your life, which we've just talked about, is obviously going to feed into your self-esteem.
Yeah.
And so the higher generosity respondents, their lifestyle, and all of this played into their overall view of themselves and their self-esteem.
And kind of
That's surprising.
self-rating themselves
Yeah.
to living more moral and upstanding lives.
Yeah. Let's say, 74%
Yeah.
of the higher respondents. Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to feel better, start giving. Start giving of yourself. Start giving of, go into your closet and pull out what you don't use and start there. It can be simple.
Like you go and I bet you maybe can purge some things and
That's
get it to a donation
Yeah.
bank. Overall, being generous is going to have a dramatic impact on your life. Period. That's
in
it.
a good way.
Yeah, and a positive impact.
In the right direction. So I'm glad that because, we're going to spend a couple more weeks talking about this, what I'm really excited about next show. So, I think we've talked about really good ways to start generosity, but I also want to challenge those listeners out there who are ready for the next step. So generosity for me is one of those things I always want, similar to, if you have goals working out or eating better or drinking less or whatever that might be, whatever goals. Generosity is one that I've really been challenged, and I have a great community of mentors that challenge me to continue to get more aggressive in this way. So our next show, we're going to actually have a special guest, and we're going to talk about those who are ready for that next level of generosity. What are some ways that, because again, there's a lot of government programs out there, there's a lot of tax benefit programs out there that help you get more aggressive by doing it in a very wise way that allows you to recapture funds, to repurpose funds, so that your impact can get to that next level. Where, we know people can start orphanages, people can start hospitals, people can start, massive organizations that, take more than just a few pennies rubbed together. And so it requires some strategies coming alongside you, some tools coming alongside you to know how to get there. And so that's where we're going to focus on next show. But before we leave, how do people find us?
So you can find us on our Instagram, Copy Talk Podcast. Leave us a message. What do we want our hashtag to be today? You're always better
First
with
step of
hashtags.
generosity. Like, what are you going to do this week?
Yeah.
Go to your
Let's
closet.
do that.
Pick out What do you know where?
Hashtag generosity.
Yeah.
Our website is launched now. Is it copytalkpodcast.com?
Mhm.
Am I saying that correctly?
Mhm.
And then, of course, I know we say it every week, our favorite.
YouTube.
Oh, that one.
That was bad.
I am throwing stuff. I'm a mess, but YouTube.
YouTube.
Subscribe.
Come find us, our channel.
Yeah.
I love it.
You
It's
can-
fun. It
you
gets you in
can-
a good mood.
If you're listening, you can't see the hot mess that I'm just hitting and knocking stuff over in the
right.
studio, but
It adds a
YouTube you
little
can.
flavor to it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, have a great week, everyone. We'll
Thank
see
you, everybody.
Next week.
This is intended for informational purposes only and not to be used as a primary basis for investment decisions. Consult your financial professional before making investment decisions. Shannon Ross is a registered representative and MBA of Lighthouse Financial. Lighthouse Financial offers securities and advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisories Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Shannon is CEO and managing financial partner of Lighthouse Financial. Cambridge and Lighthouse Financial are not affiliated.